I never thought I'd be invisible at my own high school reunion. Former classmates asked what I'd been doing, and before I could answer, my old friend Jessica laughed and said, "Oh, Maya's been working retail, right? Still at that boutique?" People nodded sympathetically. Someone changed the subject. Then our former chemistry teacher walked over, beaming. "I've been following your research," she said. "Congratulations on the Nobel nomination. Your work on cancer treatment is revolutionary." I didn't correct Jessica earlier. I didn't brag. But now everyone was listening, and the look on Jessica's face told me she finally understood what she'd spent 20 years dismissing. Before I tell you about what happened when the university president asked to speak with me privately, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. I want to see how many people understand what it feels like to be underestimated. My name is Maya Chen, and for as long as I can remember, people have needed me to be smaller than I am. Not because I was loud or arrogant, the opposite, actually. I was quiet, focused, the kind of person who preferred lab tables to lunch tables. In high school, that made me easy to overlook, easy to categorize, easy to forget. Jessica Martinez was different. She was everything I wasn't. Popular, confident, the kind of person who walked through hallways like she owned them. We were friends once, or at least I thought we were. She'd copy my homework, ask for help before exams, sit next to me in chemistry because she knew I'd let her see my answers. But outside of what I could do for her, I was invisible. At parties I wasn't invited to, in photos I wasn't included in conversations that stopped when I walked by. I told myself it didn't matter. I had other things to focus on. My research project on cellular regeneration, my early admission to Stanford, my future, which felt more real than any high school social hierarchy. The last time I saw Jessica before graduation, she was signing yearbooks in the quad, surrounded by admirers. When I walked by, she called out, "Maya, come here!" I thought maybe she wanted to say something meaningful, something that acknowledged the 4 years we'd spent in the same classes. Instead, she wrote, "Good luck with your science stuff. Maybe you'll discover something important someday. Stay sweet, Jess." The message was kind on the surface, but underneath it was a dismissal, a pat on the head, a subtle reminder that my dreams were cute, but hers were the ones that mattered. I left for Stanford that fall and never looked back.
20 years is a long time, long enough to build a career, long enough to publish papers that change fields, long enough to forget the sting of being treated like you don't matter. But not long enough, apparently, to stop Jessica from assuming I was still the quiet girl who let her copy homework. The reunion invitation arrived in my inbox 6 months ago. Westfield High School, class of 2005, 20-year reunion. I almost deleted it. Reunions felt like time machines designed to take you back to the worst version of yourself. But my wife Priya convinced me to go. "You've spent 20 years becoming someone extraordinary," she said. "Maybe it's time to let them see that." I wasn't so sure. Extraordinary felt like too big a word for what I did. I went to work, I ran experiments, I published findings. Yes, my research on targeted cancer therapies had garnered attention. Yes, I'd been nominated for a Nobel Prize in medicine. Yes, I'd given keynote addresses at conferences in Geneva and Tokyo. But in my day-to-day life, I was just Maya. I wore the same jeans for a week. I forgot to return phone calls. I ate cereal for dinner more often than I'd admit. Still, Priya was right. I had become someone different from the girl Jessica remembered. Maybe it was time to stop hiding that. The reunion was held at the Lakewood Hotel, the nicest venue in our small Ohio town. When I walked into the ballroom, I was hit immediately by the smell of cheap cologne and the sound of nostalgic pop music that hadn't aged well. Name tags were set up at the entrance. I found mine, Maya Chen, class of 2005. No accomplishments listed, no job title, just a name and a year, like that was all that mattered. I pinned it to my dress, a simple navy blue sheath that Priya had picked out, and stepped into the crowd. Faces I half remembered smiled politely. A few people waved. Most didn't notice me at all. Then I heard her voice. "Oh my God, Maya Chen, is that you?" Jessica appeared through the crowd like she'd been waiting for me. She looked almost exactly the same. Same glossy hair, same confident smile, same way of making eye contact that felt more like an assessment than a greeting. "Jessica," I said, forcing a smile, "it's been a while." 20 years! She pulled me into a hug that felt performative, like she was hugging the idea of me rather than the actual person. When she stepped back, her eyes swept over me quickly, cataloging details. "You look exactly the same, still so serious." I didn't know how to respond to that, so I didn't. "Come on," she said, linking her arm through mine without asking. "Let me introduce you to everyone. Most of the old crew is here."
She pulled me toward a group gathered near the bar. Faces I vaguely recognized. People who'd been in our grade, but never in my orbit. Jessica's orbit. "Everyone, this is Maya," Jessica announced. "Remember her? She was always in the lab doing her science experiments." A few polite nods. Someone said, "Oh yeah, I remember." "So what have you been up to?" a man named Tyler asked. He'd been on the football team, I think. "Still doing science stuff?" Before I could answer, Jessica jumped in. "Oh, Maya's been working retail, right?" She looked at me with a smile that was just a little too bright. "Still at that boutique?" I blinked. "What?" "I thought I saw on Facebook you worked at a shop or something," she said breezily. "One of those cute little places. Or was it a bookstore?" I hadn't posted about my work on Facebook in years. I barely used social media at all. Whatever Jessica had seen, or thought she'd seen, was wrong. But before I could correct her, Tyler nodded sympathetically. "Hey, retail's tough. Respect." Someone else chimed in. "Yeah, my sister manages a store. Long hours, right?" The conversation moved on. Jessica started talking about her job in pharmaceutical sales, her house in the suburbs, her 2 kids who were both gifted, naturally. I stood there, holding my drink, feeling the same smallness I'd felt 20 years ago, the same sense that no matter what I said, it wouldn't matter. The narrative had already been written. So I did what I'd always done. I stayed quiet, I sipped my drink, I let them talk. And I told myself it didn't matter. But it did. Dinner was served at round tables, the kind with too many people crammed around them. I ended up sitting between Jessica and a woman named Lauren who I barely remembered. Across from me was a man who introduced himself as Derek, though I had no memory of him at all. Jessica dominated the conversation, as she always had. She talked about her kids' soccer games, her recent vacation to Turks and Caicos, her husband's promotion. Every story seemed designed to prove how well her life had turned out.
"What about you, Maya?" Lauren asked during a lull. "Do you have kids?" "No," I said, "just me and my wife." "Oh, you're married. That's great." Lauren smiled genuinely. "What does she do?" "She's a civil rights attorney," I said. "Wow," Derek said. "That's impressive." Jessica waved a hand. "Maya's always been the serious type. I remember in high school she'd spend lunch in the lab instead of, actually socializing." She said it like a joke, but there was an edge underneath, a reminder that I'd been the weird one, the one who didn't fit. "So you're still in town?" Jessica asked, turning to me. "Or did you move away?" "I moved," I said. "I'm in Boston now." "Oh, fun. What brought you there? Job transfer?" "Research position," I said vaguely. "At a hospital?" Tyler asked. "A university," I said. Jessica nodded like that explained everything. "That makes sense. You were always good at school. I bet you're a great lab assistant." The words hit like a slap, but her tone was so casual, so friendly that no one else seemed to notice. Lab assistant. 20 years, a PhD from Stanford, postdoctoral work at Johns Hopkins, a research lab of my own,
dozens of published papers, a Nobel nomination, and Jessica thought I was a lab assistant. I could have corrected her. I should have corrected her, but the old instinct kicked in, the one that said speaking up would make things awkward, that staying small kept the peace. So I smiled tightly and said nothing. The moment came halfway through dessert. I was picking at a slice of tiramisu, only half listening to Jessica describe her kitchen renovation, when I heard a voice behind me. "Dr. Chen, is that you?" I turned. Mrs. Calloway stood there, smiling widely. She'd been my chemistry teacher junior year, strict but fair, the kind of teacher who actually cared if you learned. "Mrs. Calloway," I said, standing to hug her, "it's so good to see you."
"I didn't know you were coming," she said. "I've been following your work. It's extraordinary." The table went quiet. Jessica's fork paused midway to her mouth. "Your research on targeted cancer therapies," Mrs. Calloway continued, her voice full of pride. "The paper you published in Nature last year, I showed it to my current students. They were amazed." I felt heat rising to my face. "That's very kind of you." "Kind?" Mrs. Calloway laughed. "Maya, you're doing groundbreaking work. The whole scientific community is watching. And the Nobel nomination?" She shook her head in awe. "I tell everyone I taught you chemistry. I'm so proud." The silence at the table was deafening. Jessica's face had gone pale. "Wait," she said slowly. "Nobel Prize?" Mrs. Calloway turned to her, surprised. "You didn't know? Maya's been nominated for the Nobel Prize in Medicine. Her work on cellular regeneration and targeted therapies is revolutionary. It's going to save lives, thousands, maybe millions." Tyler stared at me. "You're nominated for a Nobel Prize?" "It's just a nomination," I said quietly. "There are many nominees." "Don't downplay it," Mrs. Calloway said firmly. She looked around the table. "Maya runs one of the most respected cancer research labs in the country. She's published over 60 peer-reviewed papers. She's given keynote addresses at international conferences. Harvard tried to recruit her last year." Jessica's mouth opened, then closed. Lauren looked between us, confusion written across her face. "But," Jessica started, "you said you worked retail." "I didn't say that," I replied calmly. "You did." The words landed softly, but the impact was immediate. Jessica's face flushed red. I saw something on Facebook." "I don't post about my work on social media," I said. "I never have." Mrs. Calloway frowned. "You thought Maya worked retail?" No one answered. "She's one of the leading cancer researchers in the world. She's saved lives. She's changed medicine. And you thought she worked retail?" The judgment in her voice was clear. Around the table, people shifted uncomfortably. "I didn't know," Jessica said, her voice small. "You didn't ask," I said quietly. That was when the dam broke. Before Jessica could respond, someone else appeared at our table, a man in a suit, maybe 50, with kind eyes and an official name tag that read, "Dr. Richard Morrison, Westfield High School Principal." "Dr. Chen," he said warmly, "I was hoping to catch you tonight." I stood again, shaking his hand. "Principal Morrison, nice to meet you." "The pleasure's mine," he said. "I wanted to invite you to speak at our STEM assembly next month. We're trying to show students what's possible when they pursue science seriously. Having someone of your caliber, a Westfield graduate no less, would be invaluable." "I'd be honored," I said. "Wonderful." He pulled out a business card. "My assistant will coordinate with you. And please, bring your wife if she's available. We'd love to have her speak about law and civil rights as well." After he left, the table was silent again, but this time the silence felt different. Not dismissive, not polite, heavy with realization. Jessica stared at her plate. Tyler cleared his throat awkwardly. Lauren looked like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Mrs. Calloway squeezed my shoulder. "I'll let you get back to your dinner, but Maya, truly, I'm so proud of what you've become." After she left, I sat back down. No one spoke. The tiramisu sat untouched. Finally, Derek said, "So you're like really famous in science?" "Not famous, just dedicated." "That's incredible.
Lauren said softly. I had no idea. Jessica finally looked up. Her eyes were glassy, her confident facade completely gone. Maya, It's fine, I said, though we both knew it wasn't. No, it's not. Her voice cracked. I assumed. I didn't ask. I thought... You thought I was still the quiet girl from high school, the one who didn't matter as much. She flinched. I didn't mean... I know you didn't, I said. That's the problem. You didn't mean it, but you did it anyway. Around us, conversations had restarted, but our table remained quiet. People were looking over now, noticing the shift, whispering. Jessica pushed her chair back. I need to... Excuse me. She left quickly, heels clicking on the hardwood floor. Tyler and Derek exchanged uncomfortable glances. Lauren reached across the table and touched my hand. For what it's worth, I think what you've done is amazing, and I'm sorry we didn't see it sooner. I nodded. There was nothing else to say. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. People approached me now, classmates I barely remembered, teachers I'd had for a semester, even strangers who'd heard the story and wanted to congratulate me. It felt surreal. 20 years of being invisible, erased in one evening. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like exhaustion. Around 10, I found myself outside on the hotel terrace, away from the noise. The Ohio night was cool, stars faint through the light pollution. The door opened behind me. I expected Priya, who had texted to pick me up early. Instead, it was Jessica. She stood a few feet away, arms wrapped around herself. She looked smaller now, less certain. I owe you an apology, she said. A real one. I didn't respond. I've been thinking about high school, she continued, about how I treated you. I told myself we were friends, but we weren't. Not really. I used you. I made you feel small so I could feel bigger. I know, I said. She flinched. And tonight, I did it again. I assumed you were less than me because it was easier than admitting I'd wasted 20 years being mediocre while you were out there changing the world. I don't think you're mediocre, I said. But I am, she said, her voice breaking, compared to you, compared to what you've done. And instead of being happy for you, instead of being proud, I tried to make you small again because I couldn't handle it. She wiped her eyes. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Maya. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something I hadn't expected. Not jealousy, though that was there. Not anger, but fear. The fear of realizing you've spent your life valuing the wrong things. I forgive you, I said quietly. But Jessica, I need you to understand something. I didn't become successful to prove you wrong. I didn't spend 20 years in labs and libraries thinking about this moment. I did it because I love the work, because it matters, because people are alive today who wouldn't be without it. She nodded, tears streaming now. You spent tonight trying to figure out if you're better than me, but that was never the competition. The only person I've ever competed with is myself. I know, she whispered. Do you? I asked. Because 20 years ago, you made me feel like my dreams were cute, like they didn't matter. And tonight, you did it again. Not because you're cruel, but because you never actually saw me. I see you now, she said. Good. Then maybe you can start seeing yourself, too. Not compared to me or anyone else. Just yourself. The door opened again. This time it was Priya, looking concerned. You okay? Yeah, I said, walking toward her. I'm ready to go. Jessica watched us leave, still standing on the terrace, alone with whatever realizations the night had forced on her. In the car, Priya took my hand. How was it? Complicated, I said. Tell me. So I did. I told her about Jessica's assumptions, Mrs. Calloway's pride, the principal's invitation, and the apology that came too late to erase 20 years, but maybe just in time to change the next 20. I'm proud of you, Priya said. Not for your work. I mean, I'm proud of that too, but I'm proud of how you handled tonight. You didn't gloat. You didn't make her feel worse than she already did. What would be the point? I asked. Exactly. That's why you're better than all of them. I leaned my head against the window, watching the Ohio landscape blur past, small towns, gas stations, fields stretching into darkness. I thought about Jessica, about high school, about all the years I'd spent feeling invisible, and I realized something important. I had never been invisible. I'd been focused. While Jessica was performing for audiences, I was building something real. While others were seeking validation, I was seeking answers. The reunion hadn't changed me. It had just reminded me who I'd always been. 6 months later, I stood in front of 500 Westfield High School students, talking about cellular biology and cancer research. I saw kids who looked like I had, quiet, serious, focused on things others didn't understand. After the assembly, a girl approached me. She was maybe 16, wearing a science club t-shirt, holding a notebook covered in equations.
Dr. Chen, she said nervously, I just wanted to say thank you for showing us that it's okay to be the weird science kid. I smiled. It's not just okay. It's exactly who you should be. She nodded, eyes bright. I want to be like you someday. Then work hard, I said. Stay curious. Don't let anyone make you feel small for being brilliant. She left, and I felt something settle in my chest. Not pride, exactly. Purpose. I didn't need Jessica's apology to know my worth. I didn't need a reunion to prove I'd succeeded. I didn't need validation from people who'd never truly seen me. I just needed to keep doing the work. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Jessica. I heard your talk was amazing. The kids loved you. I'm glad you came back. You're exactly what they needed to see. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed, "Thank you. That means something." And it did. Not because I needed her approval, but because growth, even late growth, deserves acknowledgement. 3 years later, when the Nobel Committee announced the winners, I was in my lab, elbow deep in a new research project. Priya called, crying. My team erupted in cheers. Messages flooded my phone. One of them was from Jessica. Just 5 words. I always knew you would. I didn't respond, because we both knew that wasn't true, but maybe that was okay. Maybe it didn't matter whether she'd seen it coming. What mattered was that she could see it now. Some people spend their lives trying to be seen. I spent mine doing work that mattered whether anyone was watching or not. And in the end, that's the only validation that counts. If you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or dismissed, remember this. The people who don't see you don't define you. Your work does. Your dedication does. The lives you touch and the changes you make, those are what matter. Stay focused. Stay brilliant. Keep building. Share your story in the comments if this resonated with you. And subscribe if you want more stories about the quiet power of refusing to be small. You were never invisible. You were just working on something they couldn't understand yet.